Welcome back. Here's a look at shares of Canaccord Genuity. The Bay Street heavyweight has released quarterly results. They show the wealth management business continuing to deliver stable earnings contributions. The capital markets segment is a different story with some pressure there. Let's now talk to Dan Daviau. He's President and Chief Executive Officer of Canaccord Genuity. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, you spoke to Bloomberg News on this, and you said this is probably the longest, worst new issue market in your career. Are we seeing signs of a bottom? You also say in the company's statement that engagement levels among corporate clients remains high and their desire for capital remains high. What does that mean in this environment?
Two questions, and both of them good. I think we're at the bottom of a new issue cycle. Up until now, people have been thinking the market's going down, and as a result, they haven't been playing in particularly the riskier stocks or the mid-cap stocks where we tend to dominate. I think we're through that. It's probably a little early to predict. Yesterday was a good day, obviously, in the markets, and you saw risk capital return, so hopefully we're going to see that. I think more importantly, the M&A business, there's some certainty there, and we're seeing a recovery in the M&A business. You saw it a little bit last quarter where our revenues increased about 15%, but into this quarter and into the next cycle, we're seeing it more. So cautiously optimistic is the word I used, but it has been a pretty long dry spout. We've always seen bad quarters. We just don't normally see 8 of them in a row.
Your company has had long expertise in the mining sector. What are you hearing from mining companies these days in terms of their desire for capital? There was a huge announcement involving Teck Resources just yesterday.
We saw that, and obviously weren't directly involved. But we've got a very big base of business in Australia and a very big base of business in Canada, and as a result, we're the #1 mining underwriter in the world. So we continue to be active. It tends to be pretty specific at this stage. A lot of uranium, lithium, rare earths. Less so on the base metals and precious metals, but there is a huge demand. And remember, our summer is Australia's winter, so they're busy working away on deals. So our Australia business was pretty strong last quarter.
How important are metals prices to the mood of the companies and their desire for capital?
Yeah, and they go up and down, obviously, with people feeling there's a recovery in the economy or we're going to get to the bottom and come up. What we tend to see in the market, and I think you know this, is the market will go down a lot before the economy will go down. So I think we're in for a rough patch in the economy, but as a result, I think the market will start to improve now.
The company also has a big presence in the cannabis space. A lot of people look at that space and say, there's got to be some M&A activity here sooner or later. There have got to be fewer players in this sector.
Well, there is, and the industry has already consolidated a fair amount, and we were a participant in that. Our activity in the cannabis space would date back a couple of years now. It wouldn't really be a significant part of our business right now.
Okay, wealth management. Let's swing to the other side of the business.
That's a better conversation.
Go ahead.
Yeah, our wealth management business is phenomenal. It's growing every year. We've got a big wealth management business in Canada. We continue to attract a fair number of advisors to our platform, too, in the last couple of weeks, and more to come. That business now has, over $35 billion in assets. It's growing substantially. It's very profitable for us and has continued that way. That's our second biggest wealth business. Our biggest one is in the UK, and that business as well has grown. We've bought a lot of companies. We're going through acquisitions. More recently, we're growing organically. Again, that revenue's up, the profitability's up, so it's been a real stable base of our business that we've grown materially. Our $95 billion global wealth business is over double where it was 4 years ago. So it's materially increased, or 5 years ago, I guess. It's materially increased over the last little while.
How would you characterize your offering to potential clients, Canaccord Genuity's offering versus, for instance, a Canadian big bank or a UK big bank?
It would be very, very similar. We've invested materially in our wealth business. The growth doesn't come without a cost. We've invested in technology. We've invested in financial planning systems. We've invested in compliance. So it would be a very, very similar offering.
How should investors, shareholders of Canaccord Genuity, understand the two sides of the business?
That's difficult because the two sides are, from an investor's mind, sometimes blended. We've got an incredibly profitable, stable, growing wealth business that has an immense amount of value well through our current stock price. But we do have a volatile capital markets business as well. So people have to look at the two sides of the business, and sometimes that's difficult.
What's your view of the big question that investors are asking themselves these days, or I guess the sense of confidence that investors have about the Fed and the Bank of Canada, for that matter, being at the top of their rate hiking cycles?
Yeah, I have to be glass half full because that's the business we're in. I think investors are still a little nervous. We've got one data point yesterday. One data point doesn't create a line. I think we'll need a couple other data points. But things are moving in the right direction. You've seen layoffs, you've seen unemployment, you've seen inflation come down. All of those things will lead to a Fed easing and no more interest rate increases, arguably declines. And that will ultimately spill over to the market, particularly in the mid-cap area where we tend to play.
Dan, thanks a lot for this.
Thanks for having me again.
Dan Daviau is Chief Executive Officer of Canaccord Genuity, joining me in studio.